This is the Sex Ed for You podcast, where research meets reality.
And we're your hosts, Lauren and Holland.
This is the podcast for people who want to date and have great sex that is safe, fun, and enjoyable.
We aim to empower our listeners to make informed decisions that lead to values-based living. I'm Holland, and I have a Bachelor of Science in Public Health, and I'm the Director of Operations here at Sex Ed for You.
And I'm Lauren, a certified holistic sexuality educator and the proud owner of Sex Ed for You.
Lauren works with individuals, partners, and parents to restore positive and respectful approaches to sexuality, pleasure, and relationships.
To work one-on-one with me, go to sexedforyou.com/free consult to request a free 15-minute consult today, or consider joining our monthly membership program, Hemlock.
Through monthly journaling prompts, an exclusive podcast, and virtual gatherings, the Hemlock Monthly Membership Program provides an accessible way to learn about sexuality and self.
It is a continual source of nutrients to help you nurture and re-access your sexuality and flourish personally for just $10 a month. To learn more, go to sexedforyou.com/hemlock today.
Hello.
Hello. Y'all, I want to address something. Holland might have just told me something, and then I was like, started to go on a rampage. I didn't go on a rampage. She was like, save it for the podcast. She and Trey are always saying this to me. I want to address an elephant in the room, which is that we changed our intro. And you all might have opinions about that, and you are entitled to opinions about that because we support informed decision making. This podcast is an absolutely amazing resource that we are able to provide for our clients and for the world, and building a sustainable business that flourishes and doesn't run myself to the ground, is able to pay Holland a living wage, and is able to heal my clients is like my deepest desire. I didn't think I was going to cry. I thought I was going to be mad. Okay. God, I love this work so much. And this podcast that we provide as a free resource, the services that we provide are for fee. And it's what pays our bills. And I believe so much in this business. So if the new intro frustrates you a little bit, I am sorry. I would encourage you to look at the time mark. I think it was like 57 seconds of a new intro. Skip ahead. I give you full permission to skip that baby. One of my favorite podcasts in the world has 2 minutes of talking before they get to any of the good stuff. They talk about their top 2 products that they would love you to purchase or check out. And I love that they put it in the beginning, and I love that I know exactly how to skip it. I know how many times I can press the 30-second fast forward, and I do. And I do it shamelessly because they are entitled to put those ads, those promos before their content, because it is their free product that they're giving to me. So I want to give each of our audience members full permission to skip on by our new intro. And thank you for letting us share this information with you. And thank you for understanding that this podcast is a channel that we sometimes build our client base, and it feels so authentic to us to do it in this way because this is us. Notice us in our grubby clothes today, oh visual audience.
Yeah, today we almost built a fence.
We bought a fence.
We bought a fence.
But we didn't build it because they didn't have any spikes, which that sounds very dangerous.
But you know what? We did go to Lowe's, so
we did. And
go
Home
us.
Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we grubby. There's no makeup on these faces. And yeah, just thank you. I know that it can be frustrating to listen to a podcast that has an ad at the beginning. I get it. And this ad is for our tangible services that we build with our own hands and create seriously personalized for our incredible audience. We spent a long time with the intern Stacy this morning talking about bettering Hemlock, our monthly membership program. You and I spend hours each week talking about improving our client experience and keeping it literally the best thing in the world. And I want to do this for a really long time. And I got so burnt out of my last field because I didn't take opportunities to care for myself and to pay myself a living wage. And it became unpaid labor. And at the end, I had to stop doing a thing I loved because it no longer was safe for me. And I'd like to do it differently this time. And I understand that sometimes that's going to, send people away. And there are beautiful other sexuality education podcasts to listen to. And I would encourage anyone, if you do not like something that we provide here, you don't have to listen. That was my rampage.
It wasn't very rampagey.
Sorry.
But it was great. I didn't think you would rampage.
I'm not a good rampager.
No, I knew it would call upon your emotions, which is rare.
Oh, so you tricked me.
I didn't trick you. I just strategically placed my showing of a certain message.
I love this work so much. I love our clients so much. Shout out to all of you while Holland brings this up, her topic that we're discussing today, who are beginning work right now. There are so many of you, and I feel like a proud mama. Yeah, let's go. I think it's spring. I think it's just naturally inside our bodies. We're uncovering, birthing, growing new leaves. And it's really cool. I'm proud of you all.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can talk about this. I'll read you the TLDR.
Okay.
We also absolutely don't have to because it's a sensitive subject. But it's down low is essentially dad of my daughter's best friend reportedly hit my daughter's butt, squeezed her shoulder, and then dropped an object into her lap and picked it up out of her lap. Not clear child molestation, but concerning. What should I do? And then there's a much more longer explanation, but.
Were these all done? Did you read the much longer explanation at one point? Were these all done at the same exact time?
Yeah, it was one instance. The daughter's best friend's father.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say that the man is unaware. It sounds like he's probably borderline autistic, and is just unaware of social cues and unaware of the discomfort that he's placing on others.
Yeah.
But I also, this is written by the dad, thought it was interesting how the father wrote about it. It was just, there were a lot of, I would love your insight into it because.
Let's go for it. There's all these angles that we want to take. Okay. Oh, okay.
I feel like we got to read the whole thing though.
Well, that was good. I think it's fine.
No, but there's more.
Okay. Well, give some
because there's context.
Do you want to link the whole thing?
Yeah, I'll link the whole thing, but I also want you to know about it before you respond to it. We're calling him Alfred. Alfred is an awkward French dude who can be physically clumsy. The dad says he doesn't know what to do, that he is a pediatrician, the father of the daughter who's claiming molestation. Is a pediatrician. His wife is a foster care social worker. So they are familiar with this kind of stuff at a professional level, but it's never happened personally. And he tags on this one sentence that was weird to me because he says, "Thank God my daughter didn't come to me with a clear report of sexual assault." And I'm like,
what? Okay.
Yeah, and so he goes through all the possibilities. He says it's possible that Alfred is a child molester who's been doing this. It's also possible that he's just clumsy, awkward, kind of an idiot, and accidentally made my daughter uncomfortable and needs to be more careful with his body, given that he is a man, and young girls can be scared and intimidated by his touch. And the third option is that my daughter is impulsive. She has ADHD. They talk about, and they're going through a bunch of testing with her right now, saying a third option is that my daughter is impulsive and very frequently tends to tell highly exaggerated stories. I don't know if there's any way to differentiate between the possibilities.
There is. Okay. This is something we talk about all the time. But intuition is something that we cannot bury in our children. And the discomfort of our child is the most important thing that we can protect. If a child is uncomfortable in a situation, they need to always know that they can have a conversation with a parent, that we are not going to be more worried about an adult's discomfort. So I'm hearing a few things here that are like red, yellow, flaggy in my body. One, if a child was uncomfortable, the child was uncomfortable. Mm-hmm.
Period.
End of story. I don't care why. Like that. No, if it is a why, then we need to find safer spaces for this child to be in. I fucking despise when we try to fit our children into systems, whether that be the normal friend system of, oh, we don't offend Mr. So-and-so, whether it's a school system, whether it's a church system, whether it's a cultural system. Children are born with an inherent knowledge of their own sexuality, their own autonomy, their own comforts and discomforts. When we silence a child's discomfort, we do two things. One, we tell them that they are not trustworthy. Two, we tell them that their intuition is questionable, which does two things. It suppresses their natural instinct of, I don't want that, and then confuses their natural instinct of, I do want that, which both of those things down the line are so incredibly valuable. We need them both. I have so many clients who were so squelched, they don't know what their ahas are. You and I have been talking about this so much, this idea of choice, of what do we want? So many people don't know because of these things, because they weren't told, oh, you can follow your wants, which leads you away from something. So that's number one. If a child is uncomfortable, a child is uncomfortable. You and I were talking about just recently, you walked up to a pizza joint locally, and then you turned around and left.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know. My body just said, I don't really want it right now. Like, I literally pulled in thinking, oh, can't wait for this. And then I got out of my car and my body said, I'm uncomfortable. So I just got back in my car and drove home.
I did the same thing recently. I went to a local health spot and I was going to get a smoothie and sit there and read and journal. Walked in, ordered the smoothie, went to the bathroom, came out and was like, no, I am not feeling this vibe at all. At all. Left. Paid for my smoothie, got my smoothie, but then left. In the whole plan, I had gone there to sit and journal. I was like,
what did you end up doing instead?
Not ride my body. I drove. Where did I go? Outdoors. Yeah. Outdoors, away from people. I didn't want to be witnessed. You know, I've been talking about this a bunch recently. I didn't want to be witnessed. And there were people coming and going that I knew, acquaintances, and that's fine, but it was one of my days off. And nope. I think I said I went and drove in my car and listened to a podcast, and it was lovely, and went by the mountains and felt great. Yeah. What'd you do instead when you left?
I went home. I went home and I cuddled my dog.
I think we do know what we want, but you and I are in the business of helping people come back to that. I'm interested in what happens when we as parents stop discouraging it from the jump. What if we just encourage it? You and I were talking about this with my kid the other day. She'll take herself on walks to a nearby Dollar General, and you went into that place for the first time to get something, I think for work or something, markers or something, paper. And you were like, Lauren, I can't believe you let her walk into that place. And we just kind of had a joke. You were like, it's kind of sketch. And so then she and I were in the car, and I was like, hey, Holland was joking and said, can't believe I let you walk to that place. And she goes, her little head snapped around. She goes, well, that place doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. She goes, I feel incredibly comfortable in that place. And yet there are friends of mine's houses that I have felt uncomfortable in, and I will never set foot back in them. And I was like, snaps to the teen that's like,
God, I love it.
I leave places that I'm uncomfortable
She's
with.
Incredible.
And it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And I understand that she is a unique soul.
That's true.
I don't know if I've had anything to do with this. But it is really neat that she knows that her discomfort is top priority.
Yeah, it's valued.
Because it's intuition.
100%.
Sure, it might be a little annoying that we have to tell our kid's friend's dad, hey, yeah, so-and-so doesn't care to come over and play. That might be really awkward. Yeah. But I'm sorry. That's our job as parents.
The dad in this situation, the specific Reddit, he mentions that they're really close friends with the couple. And I'm like,
no, this happens all the time. A client the other day, because when we do my initial work with the client, right, the very first step is a sexual timeline. And oftentimes first exposure to pornography, first exposure to sexually graphic or sexually violent stuff comes up. Most of the time, it's by the father or the uncle or the older brother at the best friend's house. Most of the time.
That's so interesting. It's weird.
And it's like their family was okay with fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
so I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
obviously it's anecdotal in this case, right? This is my anecdotal research from hearing story after story after story. But two things. One, we know that children are often exposed to things. They just are. The one thing we can do as parents is not have a harsh response. So also I was a little red, yellow flagged, orange flagged with the, thank God she didn't bring sexual
That was a
assault.
bright red flag to me because I was like, so you didn't ask is what, and like you didn't create a container where she felt safe to tell you is what that says to me.
And when I hope against hope that those words were not ushered out. You and I were talking about this the other day. One of the worst things our children can assume or come to fear is that we will be angry or upset or react violently if we are to bring them news.
Yeah.
If the child comes to us. Because please remember, their frontal lobes are not fully developed. Children are constantly trying to assess what will keep them safest in the situation. And so if they are afraid of your response, parent, afraid of what this would do, of how this would ruin your relationship with this best friend's family, please just consider the one thing we can tell our children over and over again is your safety and your comfort in your body matters the most to me. We'll figure out the other stuff. We will.
I also have found, this is in a different vein, but similar conversation. I've been watching a lot of Love Island, and I think it's really interesting, and it goes with parents, because I've seen parents do this in just my life, of like someone's having a conversation. Let's say two people are having a conversation, Bob and Sally, and Bob is wanting affirmation from Sally. But instead of asking for affirmation, Bob says the affirmation and goes, right? And Sally just goes, uh-huh. I see that happen all the damn time in conversations with relationships where like Bob is just going and going and going and basically talking at Sally and saying, this is what I want. This is what you like kind of seeing into Sally's perspective and saying things from Sally's perspective and then just expecting a yes or no. Is this how you feel? That's not a great way to have a conversation. And that is what it felt like this dad did to his daughter. It felt like he was saying like, oh, well, thank God she didn't come to me. Well, did she actually not come to you? Or did you fill in the gaps? Did you, like a detective, like in a little...
It sounds like projection. Yeah. Way to go, Holland. You're so smart.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Right? Oh, thank God they didn't tell me such and such. Or can you imagine as a child, put yourself in the child's shoes, everyone. And the dad says, oh, okay, it's just that. Thank God. I thought you were going to tell me that he did such and such.
Yes, that is exactly what I saw happening.
And then she's thinking,
oh. So I don't need it. I can't tell him that.
Okay. Or maybe those were about to be the next words out of her mouth.
Yes.
Or maybe, y'all, as a sexuality educator, let me tell you that trust is earned through trustworthy behavior.
She's testing the waters.
And we don't know this to be true, but just the other day, my teen came in and I hadn't seen her for a couple days and she laid on the bed and I was like, hey, how are things going? And kind of shut my laptop because I was working on something and asked kind of a low risk question, feeling, do you want to share anything else? No. She laid there for a little bit. I asked kind of another question, a little more came out, until she was just going and going. It's going to make me cry again. My job is to become trustworthy. My job is not to assume that after 5 days away from me with her father, she should just trust that no. What if I don't even give her the feeling? What if she had thought I didn't have time for her? All the reasons. And in client work, it's the same thing. It is, I tell every client, especially who has been working with a trauma specialist, right? And they still are seeing their therapist and they're coming to work on this one little issue. If a memory comes up in 6 sessions, 8 sessions, and you never have to say, I'm so sorry, I didn't tell you. No. The body is wise and it will test the waters consciously or subconsciously. And so what if this child was testing the waters?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Y'all, our, again, theme, bodies are smart. Mm-hmm. Children are smart. Young people are smart. We, the adults, have to do some work.
Yeah, some deconditioning.
Mm-hmm. And it might be really awkward to put a pause on friendship with people. And at the end of the day, if your child knows you're in their corner, I get the honor of working with parents of adult children who are trying to repair a relationship with their adult child because of shit like this.
Yeah.
And now they've realized, and I'm so immensely proud of them, right? But they've realized I need to do the work. My kid is right. My kid is right. I exposed them to this, this, and this. I had them in this type of religious system, which taught them this kind of bullshit about their own sexuality and orientation and romantic attraction. I need to do the work. And then they know that they can do the work, but trust is earned through trustworthy behavior. Mm-hmm. Okay. My question to you. What does a safe person look like, or what does a safe parent look like to you? Because we have different bodies.
Yeah. I think someone who thinks before they speak, it feels more comfortable to me, because I know the feeling of wanting to immediately react. I just like gutturally react to things a lot, and I've had to teach myself to sit and consider before responding, because I think that's where we get into a lot of sticky situations with specifically parenting, but with disclosing anything vulnerable, because anything vulnerable is typically going to bring up some kind of bodily reaction in the person receiving the information. But if your bodily reaction is what deters someone from giving a full story or feeling as if they can be fully witnessed in that situation, that's where I feel like we get into sticky situations. Like, I can remember as a kid, wanting to disclose what was happening to me as, a 15-year-old, and kind of testing the waters of like, oh, he didn't really, I don't remember how I would do it, but I would kind of like mention something that my boyfriend was doing that I didn't like. And I would see how people would react to it. And because I knew he was doing much worse. And so I was like, how are they going to react to that? And then if they like give me like a huge eyes and like a, oh my God, I was like, oh, okay, can't talk to that person. Because I was in a like a trauma circle. I was in a toxic circle. And so, yeah, I think safety to me looks like somebody who, takes time to consider their reaction.
Mm-hmm. What that says to me too is, somebody who's coming to us with information like that. Yeah, they're not usually looking for like our wisdom. They're looking for a safe space. And I was telling a parent this the other day that a beautiful question for teens, tweens, children, friends is, thank you for telling me, how did that make you feel? Like, tell me more. I'd love to hear more. How did you feel about that? Because our feelings are actually irrelevant. The person telling us would probably, if they're telling us, love to be seen and heard and witnessed. And maybe they don't in that moment. But by giving them the opportunity, even if they say, oh, fine, and then go away, we didn't make the moment about ourselves. The door is still open. When we make that moment about ourselves with our reaction, you better believe I have some mama bear anger energy sometimes, right? But people want to be trusted too. Yeah. I don't know. I think I've talked about it on here before, but like my favorite phrase my best friend and I have right now is like, I trust you. Like, thank you for telling me this. I love you. I trust you. You got this. You got this. Is there anything else I can provide for you? I trust you. Wow. Right? We can react till the cows come home. But we need to be careful. I think we really do.
Because your reaction determines whether or not they're going to come back. It really does. And like, maybe you don't want them to come back, but like, tell them to go to therapy. I don't know. It's the onus isn't on you on that.
No,
but
and Adrienne Marie Brown has that great phrase of like, this sounds like an incredible question for a helper or a healer or a coach or a therapist. Like, can I help you get connected? Like, wow, that's a beautiful question. Thank you for sharing with that. Or wow, what a beautiful story. This seems like it is a beautiful job for a professional helper, not a friend. So can I please help connect you? Do not, please, good clarification, hear me saying you need to hold something that doesn't feel consensual in your body.
Yeah,
You don't. But with this situation, this was a parent
with disclosure
child.
Between parent-child.
Sorry, you signed up for that. That's hard. And you can get the child therapy too. Play therapy.
We love therapy.
I loved my play therapy for my little one. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. Anything else? What else gave you the? Because we are decades apart.
I know. I just what 1 decade.
1 decade.
1.5.
Well,
1.5.
I'm an old lady.
No, I think it caught my attention because of the way it was so like, it's not necessarily abuse. It's like, it's not, at least as far as he knows. And so it was that, and then that Alfred's just a clumsy guy. And I was like, or is he? Like, I don't know. It just seemed very like I'm seeing shadow screens in this story. Yes. It seems like somebody's hiding something. Yes. So I wanted your opinion on it just because I think it's important to shed light on the fact that abuse is not just what you think it is, I think abuse is a lot more than your daughter coming to tell you she's been abused, because that happens after it's been years. I can tell you that right now. Yeah. I had so many signs when I was in the midst of abuse. And I think it's important to be able to look at the signs rather than the aftermath. And this to me was like, oh, that's a sign, not we need to go to the police and report, but like we need to start taking steps. So I think for me, it was interesting to see a parent's reaction to a sign. Yeah.
Thank you. You said something so beautiful, right? So often there are many steps on the way to something like that.
Yeah.
And in the trust system that I teach, right, it's letting children know always that they get agency and autonomy over their bodies too. And there was a uncle in my life who I never felt safe around. And it was always odd because my parents would say, like, don't be in the garage with Uncle so-and-so alone. There were definite boundaries, but it was never disclosed to me that it was okay to listen to my intuition. He was very touchy, cuddly, tickly type of uncle. And like, but there was always like a pit in my stomach. Like it always was fun, but there was always a pit in my stomach. It was never affirmed. And I was never given choice. I was never given voice. And I just, obviously with my story of then marrying a man who's now gay and being in a marriage for a decade that was highly verbally abusive and highly emotionally abusive, and there was alcoholism, and I didn't know that I could say that this was not okay to anyone. And so much of me wonders if these were subconscious beliefs, true beliefs, right? This had come from programming and internalization of many things, of which my discomfort was the least important thing.
I think that's why it called to me so much. Because it was, I think people who don't have experience with abuse, which I'm so thankful you don't.
100%.
That's a great thing. But also, you still got to have your eyes peeled. Like, because abuse looks different. And signs such as my best friend's dad dropped something in between my legs and then picked it up between, like she was sitting crisscross applesauce, and he picked something up from between her legs sitting that's a sign. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. That's wrong.
Here's a neat example. Trey, my partner, husband, what happened the other day? Not the other day, months ago. We were all fooling around and he slapped my kid's butt and immediately felt, and we were all like playing a game, like running tag, something. He did this. He felt so wrong in his body that he immediately turned around to this young person and was like, so-and-so, said her name. That was not okay. That what I just did to you, not appropriate. She said, like, it's no big deal. Like, you're my he was like, it's not okay. Adults my age who are not your mom and dad or who do not know, that is not okay. What I just did to your body, not okay. And I was like,
that's incredible. God, I love Trey.
That is his job.
Yeah.
Adult job.
Yes.
Adult, immediately. He felt so bad. Like, he could feel it, right?
And
This, that was the line.
So good on him for being like, hey, not even just ignoring it, but like immediately like, no, that was not okay.
Right? Like, that's the difference we can have as adults in the lives of children. And Jack Moran says it best. We are all sex educators. If there are children or youth in our presence, we are sex educators.
Yeah.
Face it. They are watching us. They are emulating us. I was thinking too, okay, so best case scenario, this father of the best friend is just clumsy. Okay, but have we also started to train this child and lead this child to believe that her discomfort is less important than the adult's discomfort? Are we starting to, not polite to talk about that, that's awkward, when we find ourselves going, we must look at the voices we are shushing and look at the voices whom we are protecting.
Yep. I think you brought it to my attention, the quote that says, when we're looking at tradition, we need to look at whose voices have been uplifted and whose voices have been silenced. Because when we think tradition, yeah, sure, you think funerals and, things you're doing things for, but traditions are also hushing children in favor of the voices of adults.
Children to be seen and not heard.
Yeah. Why are we silencing children? What about it? Because you think they're what? Fill in the blank. What about children is making you think that they deserve to be silenced? Because I have met so many kids that are way smarter than me. So many kids that are way smarter than most of the adults I know. As I grow older, the more I'm like, no, there's no like knowledge bestowed upon you as you become an adult. You are not any better than anyone else or any child for that matter. I don't know. It's just an interesting concept to me. And shushing children gets us nowhere. Except detention centers. So, yeah.
Back to the trust system. I often talk about kind of coming up, practicing scripts with your with families and stuff like this. I acknowledge, any parents that might listen to this podcast who are like, well, but Lauren, I don't want my kid to run in the middle of a family event and be like, so-and-so just touched me. First of all,
why not?
Why not? Second of all, okay, so what's your plan? What have you coached your kids up in? Right? The thing we do in my house, but I would love everyone to come up with their own thing, is my kid can come in at any time and put her hand on my arm. And it just means I need to speak with you. And if I cannot in that moment for some reason get out of it, I do this. This is American Sign Language for wait. So I'll just go like this and I just wiggle my fingers on my left hand. If it is immediate, she squeezes. And that means like, no, this is not like we can wait. This is a now. Also, my kid knows that if something was to happen, she is to scream penis and balls and vagina really loud, and then I'm to come walking in. But if it was in some way where she was just uncomfortable, because her comfort matters the most in the world to me, there's a system. What's your system? Like, okay, you don't want to have the kids who come running through and are screaming, Uncle so-and-so touched me. Well, then tell me your other plan.
Yeah.
What have you coached your kids in doing? Because saying, shh, it's not polite to do that is only harming children.
Yeah. So
like, I don't know, be the grown up. I have, no, it's funny because in the beginning I was like, my rampage. You want to see a rampage? It's this. It's this.
Got it.
We can do better.
We can. I've never understood why we don't explain things to children. I was a babysitter and a nanny just like you were growing up. And I found it hilarious that like kids would ask me questions and I would explain it to them. And they would be like, oh, you answered. I remember specifically one kid said, thank you for answering my question. And I was like, first of all, great full sentence. Second of all, like this was a small kid. He was so smart too. And I was just like, you're welcome, my guy. And he was like, I usually have to look these things up. And I was like, bam. See, you don't answer, he Googles it.
Children are innately curious, and we want them to be so.
Yes.
That is what's going to heal our world and save the entire planet.
They'll probably solve global warming.
Yes.
One day.
Can we please not make children feel bad for having questions? Yeah. It's also like my soapbox I will forever stand on. Well, I was so mad because Johnny Googled. Why?
Why did he Google?
Let's not be mad at Johnny for Googling.
Did he ask you first?
Uh-huh.
Like,
and then if you didn't, let's get curious about why we weren't a safe person for Johnny to ask and why there weren't any resources in the house that we couldn't point Johnny to. Or let's show Johnny websites like amaze.org and wonderful places to search.
I just love communication. So it brings me so much joy. And I know that
like my heart is racing. I'm glad you like communication.
Oh, I'm so happy. Because I just like, I know that feeling. I'm still young, I guess. Everybody's still young in my opinion, but I still have so much of that child in me that was just so curious. And it still leads me into doing so much of what I love in this job. And like that voice is nurtured by you, and that voice is nurtured by me now, but it wasn't always. Anyway, that voice is such a playful, fun voice. It is not a bad voice. That voice is like, oh, teach me. I want to learn. I want to know. And it's usually just, it's just fun and it's curious and it's like a driving force. And I think a lot of really creative people really lean on that. And when we bludger it out of them, it's sad. But communication, I feel like really has been one of the things that's taught me to listen to the voice. Because not only now do I have the voice saying like, oh, I want to know, I want to learn, I have the skills to ask, and I have the skills to ask the right people and put myself in places with people who encourage that. Without communication and without the skills of communication, I would not be nearly as capable of finding these people who will, nurture my creativity and nurture my desire for more. I think communication is like literally the gateway to a happy life because you are able to communicate what is going on inside your brain. Sorry, that was a lot.
Mic drop. Mike.
I just love
I was just trying to be quiet over here.
It makes me happy.
We're kind of just talking about this the other day, and I tell this to clients hourly, maybe hourly. Is it a sex problem or is it a communication problem?
It's usually communication.
Usually communication. Are there instances? 100%. The pelvic floor. Wow.
Yeah, she's strong.
She's a strong lady. Okay. And so often, as my vaginismus and dyspareunia clients would say, it could be traced back to an instance in young adulthood or childhood where someone did not listen to their voice.
Someone shushed them.
Yeah. Okay. Because that pelvic floor is just like the mouth. Okay. Just like this sphincter that's like, no, I don't want to eat that. Okay. The vagina is like, no, I don't want that. Okay. Wise communication. This ability to ask for what we want and what we don't want. Like amazing. So I was just thinking, you and I were doing it like a deep dive on Dr. Betty Martin.
God, I love her.
The other day. oh God, the most wonderful, wise, precious human being in the world. And I was thinking about this, though, with Wheel of Consent in mind, what we've just been talking about, and that I talk with clients all about, that Me Too movement, so freaking happy that it happened. I wish I could have accompanied it with a public health messaging on how to communicate at the same time.
Yep.
Because what we accidentally did is make a whole bunch of victims.
Yeah.
We didn't empower anyone to take ownership and author their own new narrative. We gave a lot of validation and affirmation, which fuck yeah, we needed to do. And what, right? So many people gendered in female bodies, raised in this world to fulfill female gender roles, live on the outside of the giving a gift side of the Wheel of Consent, which is service and martyrdom. If you're outside of there, like do-gooder, right? All this type of stuff. Or the outside of allowance, which is endure, tolerate, and being victim.
Womanhood.
It's a great joy.
And that's why we learned the Wheel of Consent, so that we can actually find joy in allowance and in giving and in taking, and the other quadrant that's there, because there's 4 of them, and they're accepting. And it's
fascinating because people raised female, gender role female, and people raised male, gendered male. I find they stay on the outsides. I feel like the men stay on the right half of the circle, which is the outside of take and the outside of accept. Outside of take is rape, assault, all these types of things, steal. Outside of accept is entitlement, assumption of privilege, things like this, right? Isn't that fascinating? Gender roles. What I was trying to think of here is how could we empower this daughter of the pediatrician with some language. If this dad did not say, may I get this out of your lap, right? This dad listening can be like, ooh, did so-and-so's dad ask, may I get this out of your lap? Because that's him taking, right? If she's like, no, and he can be like, that was a violation of your body and of your agency. He can give name to it.
Yes.
There's a reason, honey, that you feel uncomfortable with that, because that's violation of your boundaries. If someone doesn't ask, may I? It doesn't give you an opportunity to say, no, you may not. Right? Because if somebody says, may I get that out of your lap? You can say, oh, no, thank you. Here you go.
Yeah.
There's another way. But we need to give our children this language so they can go, oh, that was being done to me without my consent. There's a reason that felt like a violation. Because it was her body, her agency, right? That's what Trey was saying when he smacked the baby on the butt was, oh, God, I didn't ask for that. That's your body.
Yeah.
Right? She often say to me, if I kiss her on the head, you didn't get consent. It's true.
It's true. And it's so interesting to me too, because I've heard on the internet, so heard is not necessarily, but people will gripe and groan about oh, am I supposed to ask for consent for everything? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, it sounds as if these people are worried about the heavy lift that it will be, when in reality, when you implement consent in your life in any way, it bleeds naturally. You begin to see consent in ways in everyday interactions. Y'all, I ask my dog if I can pick him up. Okay, I know that's ridiculous. It just happens naturally. I literally am just Ollie, can I get you? Can I pick you up, Ollie? He's never going to respond to me, but I just say that as an exemplification of the fact that it does come naturally. We are not meant to just unconsensually take from the world. That is not what we are meant to do. And if that is the way you feel, honey, go to therapy. That is, we got some problems if that's how you feel about the earth. And it's just that there is such joy in asking for consent and then being granted it. It's so hot. And you're like, God, yeah, not only do I get to do what I want to do, they want me to do it. And I mean that sexually and non-sexually.
Yes.
Oh my God, can I have a hug? And then you get a hug and you're like, oh yes, this is a great hug.
Right.
Instead of a weird, awkward side hug because they were kind of trying to avoid you, it doesn't just have to do with physical touch and sexual intimacy. Consent is life. Sorry.
God. This is a fire podcast. I've just been thinking of all these different ways. I loved what you said, that when we begin to practice consent, it bleeds into everything. And that is what I'd want to sit down and talk with the dad about, is this verbiage is not talked about enough in your home. There needs to be more language. So this child can come home and say, hey, when he's like, how was time with best friend so-and-so? Well, there were some non-consensual things that happened. Oh, tell me. Well, I felt like my own body boundary was crossed and violated when this happened. Oh my goodness, great. I'm going to talk to them about this. Would you like to come with me? Right? That's not okay ever. How would you like us to move forward? Having this verbiage exist in the world gives our children an ability to speak truth to you. You don't have to poke and prod. If kids know, oh, my agency and autonomy is of utmost importance to my parents, and they have words to share that.
And especially with kids, because then you're equipping them with, not especially, literally everyone should learn this, but equipping children with this language, is incredible for just the formation of their frontal lobe and their growth, period. It builds your bond with your child, but also just because my brain goes to like risk adversity, I think about if a predator hears your kid talking that way, you know what they're not going to do?
Yeah.
Approach your child, because they know your child has the verbiage to combat them, and that it will stand up in court, and that they will tell their parents about what happened because they have the verbiage and they've been empowered to take control and autonomy over their own body. And that is not attractive to a predator.
You know what is attractive? A child who doesn't know the difference.
Yep.
A child who is absolutely concerned with making all of the adults comfortable.
100%. Yeah.
I don't want any child to experience anything. And I also always say that we could give our children the very best education and equip them the very most, and bad things will still happen.
Yeah.
They will. What I want is a line of communication from my child to me at all times. There are going to be things that I can't control in her world. And I wish I could protect her from all things, but I cannot. I would love for there to be a rope that she can pull her way back. I would love for there to be knowledge that she can come to me with anything. And communication tools are how we do that. So we talk about the 3-minute game on all the podcasts at all times. I highly recommend playing the 3-minute game with your own kids. There are completely appropriate ways to play with children by setting a timer for 3 minutes and saying, hey, how do you want to be touched for 3 minutes? Most children will say, like, can you hug me? Can you scratch my back? Can you do the alphabet on my back? Could you brush my hair? Can you give me a hand massage? Can you give me a foot massage? There are completely platonic, child-appropriate ways for children to request touch.
Absolutely.
That they're hungry for. So we can do that for 3 minutes, set a timer. Then they can say thank you. We can say you're welcome to exactly what you said, right? We can start to affirm, how does it feel to get exactly what you want? Wow, good. Yeah, great. Okay. So then they can play on us too. We can always say, hey, I don't want to be touched for 3 minutes, set a timer and just sit there and talk for 3 minutes. That's always allowed too. Second question is, how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? Which is a perfect example of taking. I don't want our kids to think that all touch in this world is non-consensual. I want them to see how to request the things they want to do to somebody else's body consensually, because that's where pleasure lies and desire. And the amount of clients I also work with who cannot exist in the taking quadrant because they were taken from. And so they're like, I don't want to be that person. So they don't know how to chase their pleasure. They don't know how to ask for what they want. And how do they present? My so-and-so, my partner, my lover says I don't desire them. I do, I just don't know how to ask. Okay, so desire lives in, may I do this to you, right? So my kid would probably say like, may I just like sit next to you?
And you're going to sniff her head.
Yep. Okay. And then I'm going to ask to sniff her head. And she may say yo, and she may say yes. And that's beautiful too, because she can consent. She can say, no, I really don't want you to smell my fucking head, Mom.
Learning to say no is hard.
Also so hard.
God, it's so difficult. And this is, and like the 3-minute game is such a beautiful container to be able to learn to say no. And it's just incredible. I didn't think I was able to say no to my parents. I didn't know that was an option. Like, I genuinely never crossed my mind.
Me either. I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
It was obey and do. I mean, my parents are wonderful people. And I was I just didn't know that I could say no to them.
You said something earlier, like they'll fill in the gaps. I think,
yes.
I think kids fill in the gaps.
100%.
Right? We're like, oh, okay, so I can't say no to my parents. Okay, who else can I not say no to?
Teachers.
Teachers. Authorities. Family members.
People at fast food restaurants who are taking my order.
Yeah.
The amount of people who cannot order at a table or send back food when it's wrong. Not that that this is not a dig at your chicken salad today, but like,
there was a piece of glove in my chicken salad.
There was a piece of plastic in it. But it's not even, I'm serious. Like, if you can't say, this isn't what I asked for, that's a life skill, y'all. And I know I'm laughing. I'm always laughing. It's not funny. And I'm not laughing at you. I can't do these things either.
No, I've written versions of the 3-minute game for roommates that doesn't involve any touch at all. And it's like, may I talk to you for 3 minutes about this problem at work? And can you just listen? Like, but may I talk to you? Y'all, that's a form of taking. Okay, when we just gonna vent at somebody and we don't want them to fix anything, we just want them literally to be a container, the other person's allowing. Okay, so perfect example. Another one I've had roommates do is the will you question, which is like, will you make me a sandwich? And then be like super specific with what you want on it, because sometimes we won't ask for what we actually want.
What do you want on it? Whatever you.
When we know exactly what we want.
Yes,
or
I want
don't
pickles,
like,
damn it.
Right? Like, no mayonnaise or something like that. Yes. Be really specific. Will you take out the trash? Will you start practicing? Yeah. Right? May I light a candle? May I put on my favorite song and dance to it with you?
Hell yeah.
Right? There are so many may I, which is taking for your joy. A client and I were talking about this the other day, a shout out, that they wanted to post a social media like picture celebration of someone. And we got to the bottom of it was for them, not for the other person.
Yeah.
And every year I post a birthday tribute to my best friend. It's not really about her. I mean, it is, but it's really like, look at this friendship.
And
like,
look how hot I am in this photo.
Right? Like, look at our friendship. To be able to acknowledge that is really important. We have cultivated this every year. It's so funny that you say how hot I am, because I screen every photo by her now, because I do want this to be more of a birthday tribute, and I want them to be all photos that like make her feel really good. And so she'll even send, sometimes she'll be like, hey, can this photo go in the birthday tribute? Because she feels like she looks good in it. And so if it's really for her, that's what it really should be for, not for like me. But we do it all the time.
We do. No, it's so generational too, because like with my friends, if you don't post an Instagram story for a birthday, it's like kind of a big deal. Right. And so if you like, when you're posting that Instagram story, they're like, I'm looking at myself. I'm not looking at my friend. And so I've had to cognizantly make the decision. Anyway.
But wouldn't that be a really neat thing? Like,
like what photo of us do you love? I actually, right now, the picture I just posted, I know exactly which one, and I don't look that great in it. But you know what? It's her birthday.
Yes.
If she likes that picture, it's going to be her damn birthday photo.
Right? Just an interesting question to ask ourselves is, how often are we doing things we think is an act of service, but it's really not.
We're acting really outside of the quadrant.
Ourselves.
Yeah.
And so move that over the take quadrant. And if it's really for yourself, then ask the other person, may I do this?
It's okay to do things for yourself.
Okay, but say a may I question.
Yeah.
Don't think I'm here giving a good present.
And then, and then be angry when they don't appreciate it, because you never asked.
Presents start with a will you question. So you could say to this person, hey, I'm thinking that I want to celebrate you for your birthday. Is there anything I could do? Could I post an Instagram story, something like that? They have an opportunity to say yes or no. Okay, well, tell me more about that. Right? Would that make you feel good? You might get a shocking response. They might be like, I don't care. It's communication, fascinating.
I love it. it's changed my life completely, like on its head.
Wild. And I just so amplify and validate everything you said about it starts to bleed into everything.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine going back anymore.
No.
I
will link.
I don't know how I would do that.
I don't know either. I'm going to link the what is it called? You just left in my brain. The Wheel of Consent. I'm going to link.
Can you also
the Wheel of
link
Consent.
the video we watched the other day of my favorite,
Yes, of
Dr.
Betty
Betty
Martin
walking through the woods and touching the trees?
Absolutely. And then she eats an apple.
It's the best. And she goes like this.
It's delicious.
Betty Martin, if you ever watch this, you're my favorite person.
We love you so much.
I love you so much.
We love you so much.
And that apple eating is my favorite part of the
and
video.
Yeah, me too. Look, it's so sensual and beautiful.
It's very wonderful.
Anyway, so I will link the video. I will link the Wheel of Consent. I will link probably just everything Betty Martin's ever done.
Yeah.
I will also link the Reddit.
For people to read the story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We have the video coming out soon. It's not out now, but on the 3-minute game.
That's what the other thing was. Thank you for remembering that. Yeah, it will be on the Feel Collective. Yes, it'll be on the Feel Collective.
And it'll probably be in our things of courses too.
Yeah, it'll be on our website.
It's coming. We have so much content we've been making recently.
Yay.
And Helen's just one person. So, yeah. Thank you for bringing this up. I think this was a great conversation today.
I do too. It was fun.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. You go.
Okay.
You start, and I've got some things to add.
Oh, okay. Exciting. If you would like to book a free consult with Lauren, you can go to sexedforyou.com/free consult and just type in there why you want to do it. Would love for you to be more descriptive than not, because it lets me know if you're kind of creepy or not. And I like to guard this lady. She's hot. You seen her? I got to be a bodyguard.
Especially today.
Today
is the sexiest.
Follow us on Instagram at sex_ed_for_you, and we would love for you to join Hemlock, which is our monthly membership program. We have a first month free code branch, so go to sexedforyou.com/hemlock and join that bad boy. We've got an Instagram group chat and a bunch of other fun shit. So
it's so fun. It's the best. We had our new moon gathering the other night, and my gosh, such wisdom. If you're looking for community and you're like, God, I do want to learn more about sexuality, sensuality, but I am not ready for no, I don't even know what I'm doing. Hemlock's the best place.
So accessible. 1 month free if you want it. Yeah, and we're really doing a lot of cool things with it right now too. So it's kind of now's a really good time to join.
You should come join Hemlock. That's what I was going to close out and say is I know in the beginning I kind of went on a little rant, but I want to always remind you that you have a right to informed decision making. You have a right to your own opinion, and you have a right to literally disagree with everything that we say here, and to not book free consults, to not join Hemlock, and to use this podcast however it's best for you, because that's consent. And we find it really sexy. So please stand in your autonomy and your agency. Skip over previews. Skip this end bit. Do whatever serves you. It's our delight. It really is. When we put that ad before our content, that feels really good in our bodies, because then we feel that we are in abundance, that this podcast is doing 2 things.
Keep going.
Camera died.
Just keep going.
Oh, this podcast is doing 2 things. This is going to be just audio.
Yeah, it is.
That it is advertising for us and sharing beautiful truths or hilarious anecdotes of ourselves. So thank you for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
Goodbye.
Bye.